to, I would want to go on record thanking this lady for the tremendous contribution to the community. Otherwise, to reiterate my prayer, Madam Speaker, I would want government to consider first tracking the opening of this particular heritage center, Kaomia Heritage Center 3. I beg. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable colleagues. I do want to appreciate the honorable member from Mpengeru, Honorable Sanja, on the concerns that he has raised on health centers or facilities in his constituency. Right Honorable Speaker, as a matter of concern, I understand the members' concern is that the ministry should ensure that this facility, which is already ready to be utilized and functional, what is remaining is only commissioning it. I want to say that, honorable colleague, when we are commissioning, we have to work together with the local, district local, and come together on a date, and I will come as immediately as I come to commission it with the rest members of the Ministry of Health. About making it functional, those are the issues that we have to go through. So if we can have maybe a one-to-one with my technical people and we work out on the way how to commission it. On this other center, which was a community, I also want to appreciate the services of this lady committed. And as you know, our people in the health, once they are committed to giving health services, they do it to all. 42 years is a tremendous time. However, I heard you saying that if this facility can be taken on and made a health center 2, our policy has moved to health center 3. But we shall still look at it and study it and see how we can come in. Thank you.
Honorable Minister, while you are aware, there was an issue raised by Honorable Kamba.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. My issue concerns the matter of national importance I raised regarding the spring disease in Namutumba district that was and is still kills children. Disease. It's a strange.
It is strong. He doesn't know which disease it is.
I requested that a team be constituted, and the Right Honorable Speaker, you ruled that the Ministry of Health should dispatch a team to Namutumba. Coming to 3 months, there is no report that has ever been presented in this house, and the disease continues to kill children. My prayer is that the minister tells us, or this August House, on the plan it's undertaking to ensure that such is covered. Thank you.
There is also another issue from Kiboga.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. For the record, my name is Motumba Abdul, representing the people of Kiboga West. Right Honorable Speaker, I intended to present my matter as a matter of national importance, but the fact that I'm given this period of time to present or to add some information, Madam Speaker, there are people languishing in hospital, that is St. Peter's Hospital in Kiboga Town Council, who were shot on the 7th of August on instructions of land grabbers who have deployed armed men who are purported to have been hired from Willets Securities. This matter has been reported on several occasions because there's a matter that has been developing over time. Some people have even died. The owner of that same estate has died. And it is well known to the police quarters, even to the headquarters of police. That is Kivuli, because it even took the initiative of investigating this matter to its conclusion, but no report was ever, released. But there is a group of notorious land grabbers who want to grab land from the family of one Haji called the Chakolagira the Late. And wherever they try to do farming and carry on with their normal duties on their land, the notorious land grabbers, bring out guns and shoot. At times they shoot in the air, but this time they shot 3 people on the 7th of August. The matter was reported to police, but instead the police is protecting and guarding the land grabbers. So this matter, now that has been brought to this parliament, it is our prayer as representatives of the people that first and foremost, the perpetrators of these actions be arrested immediately and also be charged, because the people that they shot are languishing in hospital, 3 of them. And yet there is enough evidence that land is well registered and is owned by the late Haji Chakolagira Dirisa. And also, government should come up. It is our prayer that government comes up to. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Maybe we'll start with the health first. But even when we are starting with health, each district has a health management information system. And that captures all the sicknesses that come, the strange diseases. And it is these district health officers who are supposed to relay the disease surveillance to the ministry. I don't know if that has been done.
Right, Honorable Speaker, when the disease escalated, we contacted the DHO, who in this case is in charge of that committee. But it took 2 weeks without getting any response from the DHO. Our constituents were so concerned. Children were dying. In a day, we would count over 50 deaths of children urinating blood. And it is very serious that the ministry, I don't know, the DHO doesn't want to believe that it is a strange disease, but there is no solution that is given. And in this case, as a representative of the people, I decided to bring the matter directly here on the floor, Right Honorable Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to thank the honorable member from Namutumba, and I want to say I do take concern of the issues he has raised on a strange disease, and I want to say that it's unfortunate if the DHO has been informed about this disease and is not responding. Right, Honorable Speaker, right as you have said, we have got not only the district health management team, but we have the district surveillance team system that works together at our ministry, where we have a national surveillance system. And we have a whole department with a commissioner, and it has been very active. Even this morning, we are with partners to see how to strengthen the system. Now, as a ministry, it is coming to us because at least I've been acting for the last 2 weeks. Now that has come to the fore of this house, I am going to contact our surveillance system, and they are in contact, as you have rightly said, to go and establish and find out about this disease, and we shall come back here and report immediately that the team is back. Right, Honorable Speaker, on the issue of Kivoga, I want to start saying that once again it is very unfortunate for our citizens that were shot, but I'm made to understand that they are at a private health center for facility, and there are issues concerning land and police. Those ones, the police and land, I'm sure they're also handling. But on our part as a ministry, we are going to call the DHO to find more about these patients in this private health center for, and if possible, transfer them to our health facility or advise them to be brought back here, either to Murago, but we shall take it immediately. I live here or as first thing in the morning.
So the security should handle the other aspect. So Prime Minister, you need to report to the ministry. Ngwa.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker, and how I wish you can protect me from my former government chief whip who used to torment me. Right Honorable Speaker, the matter of national importance I'm bringing is about our tea. Well known in the whole world for producing high quality and best tea. And particularly, the best tea we normally get it from Igara, that is in Western Uganda, of which it is my constituency. So, Right Honorable Speaker, I've just come to find out that our tea we produce in Uganda for export, once it goes throughout our country, that is supposed to go through Mombasa and reaches Mombasa, our tea is then rebranded as Kenyan tea. So our tea has not reached international market even after adding value. Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, we are losing a lot of money. Uganda is not known anywhere. And our minister of trade, Right Honorable Speaker, they are even here sleeping and they cannot even intervene, but they are interested in maybe rice. Right Honorable Speaker,
have you seen any of them sleeping around?
So often of recent, I made someone to wake up. So they only take nap. So right.
No, Honorable Ngwa.
Oh, I withdraw.
Okay.
They used, but they no longer. So Right Honorable Speaker, the matter, my prayer is, Right Honorable Speaker, we need an immediate intervention. How I wish you can instruct either any of the committee to dig out the matter and find out the reasons to why our tea is being rebranded and sold as Kenya tea. Secondly, Right Honorable Speaker, how our ministers, now that they no longer sleep on duty, how they can bring a comprehensive report about our tea. Thank you so much.
Honorable Mbwa, you have an evidence to that effect that the tea is for Kenya?
Right, Honorable Speaker, I have evidence. I was in Mombasa 2 weeks back, and I happened to do this, and they are not hiding. They are doing it in broad day.
You bring the evidence and lay on table.
Granted.
Thank you. Thank you, my colleague, for giving way for information. Madam Speaker, what our colleague Honorable Mbwa is saying is very true. Kenya as a country and the other countries in East Africa region are not only branding tea for Uganda, but even Ugandan eggs that are bought and taken to Kenya, our neighbors, they are packed and exported to Asian countries in the names of Kenya because of the value that we have put in our chicken feeds that the chicken feed on. And so I want to add and give information that what Honorable Mbwa is saying is very, very true. And that's why you
because we are not vigilant as Ugandans.
No?
I mean, if you're doing that and you're sleeping the way you say it, why don't the other ones wake up and do that?
Truly, Madam Speaker, what you are saying is true. And I would like Honorable Mbwa to advise us which gauge do we use to gauge the sleeping ministers so that we should work at a good.
Thank you so much. But right now, Honorable Speaker, I have my colleagues who wish to tender additional information. The commissioner also witnessed and honorable call. Thank you so much.
Honorable members, the allegation about rebranding will create unnecessary diplomatic row with Uganda and Kenya. In the spirit of the East African integration, we need to address this matter through the established regional coordination team or channels. So let's stop that kind of allegation because it will cause problems. Yes.
Right, Honorable, the Minister of Trade is here, is coming to add, but maybe something small. As members of parliament, as leaders, you need to educate our farmers that when you are taking your product out of the country or within the country still, please put labels. Let it be labeled so that that label identifies this is Uganda, this is Nakasongola, this is ginger. But the Minister of Trade is here, let him add. Thank you.
Madam Speaker and colleagues, first of all, I would like to put the record clean and right. Honorable Mbwa did state that we spend most of the time sleeping, and that is not true. Most of the time we spend is on research, especially on value addition. Secondly, it is not true that all Ugandan tea is rebranded in Kenya and exported as Kenyan tea. There is a live example of Buhweju tea factory. The tea from that factory is exported to Britain and visited Mombasa, and I found the tea packed and ready for export. But it is also true that some of the tea from Uganda is branded in Kenya. We are also thinking very, very hard from Uganda. The investors who are coming to the Rwenzori region, and very soon this will be history. I thought I would make that clarification to the House. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Next item.
Item 3, Laying of papers, 3.1. Parliamentary Pension Scheme Valuation Report as at 30th June 2022.
Honorable Silvani.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Who gave you to speak?
Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the Parliamentary Pension Scheme Valuation Report as at 30th June 2020. I beg to lay.
Please lay, thank you.
Item 3.2, report of the Ugandan Parliamentary Forum on Mental Health in the international conference held in Toronto, Canada from 21st June to 3rd July 2022.
Chairman, mental health.
Right Honorable Speaker, and my colleagues, under Rule 33, I beg to lay report on the Uganda Parliamentary Forum on Mental Health on International Conference of Legislation for Mental Health in Canada and Africa. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg to lay.
Please lay. We are waiting for a response from the Minister of Finance on our pension. Honorable Kadishi, you said you're calling the Minister. You know, that is the only right we have as members of Parliament. Honorable Nankabira, am I lying? Are you not enjoying the pension? Next item, as we wait for the Minister.
Item
that
4.
issue must be resolved.
Item 4, motion seeking leave of Parliament to introduce a private member's bill entitled the Constitution Amendment Bill.
Honorable members, regarding this motion, I wish to guide as follows. 1, the right of move a private member's bill is enshrined in Article 94(4)(a) of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda and Rule 121 of the Rules of Procedure. The motion by Honorable Sarah that she wants to seek to amend the Constitution to alter the minimum qualification required for election of a person of a president and members of Parliament, reserving 40% for women in Parliament and local councils. As I guided on 5th July 2022, when Honorable Karubanga Jacob Atei, MP Kibanda South, sought leave for this House to introduce a constitutional amendment bill, I will base on the same precedents to guide this motion as well. There is need for a comprehensive review of the Constitution through a Constitutional Review Commission, so that the amendments of the Constitution are consolidated as opposed to a piecemeal amendments by private members. The motion by Honorable Sarah Opendi is referred to the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs for integration into the terms of reference of the Constitutional Review Commission once it is established. And it is good now we have a Minister of Justice. In the meantime, the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs will at an appropriate time inform this House on the timelines of the establishment of a Constitutional Review Commission. I have referred it to to Minister of Justice, so you can hand it over to the Minister of Justice.
Item 5.
No, you can't move it. What we wanted was to put it on record that is this motion which has been brought by so and so. So let it be consolidated in the other motions, because they are constitutional amendments. Hey, those in favor?
Item 5. Motion for adoption of the report of the Committee on Tourism, Trade and Industry on alleged unfair trade in the rice subsector.
Honorable members, on 5th May 2022, the presiding officer notified the House of a petition he had received from the Rice Business Sector Association on the challenges affecting the importation of rice through Mutukula border. He referred the petition to Committee of Tourism, Trade and Industry. The committee is ready to report. Chair. That chair is called the Mwine Mpaka.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. The report of the Committee on Tourism, Trade and Industry concerning the alleged unfair trade practices in the rice subsector. Honorable members, the report is on your iPad. For the interest of time, I'll refer you to the pages of some of the details. The introduction, honorable members and right honorable speaker, the Committee on Tourism, Trade and Industry has the honor to present a report on investigations carried out as a result of a petition tendered to the office of the Speaker of Parliament, who subsequently assigned the matter to the Committee on Tourism, Trade and Industry on the 5th of May 2022 in accordance with the Rule 36 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament. Honorable members, the background is on page 4 and page 5. In 2014, the VAT Amendment Act was enacted and its enforcement was effected on 1st July 2014. The Act provided that the supply of cereals grown and milled in Uganda would attract VAT at the rate of 18%. However, in July 2014, a company known as SWT Tanners, along with 13 other companies, sued the Commissioner General of URA under Civil Suit No. 880/2014 in the Commercial Court, seeking to prevent URA from collecting VAT on imported rice from Tanzania. In July 2014, the Commercial Court ruled in favor of URA, and in December 2014, the companies appealed the ruling. Subsequently, an injunction was issued restraining URA from collecting VAT from the 14 companies. To date, the appeal by the 14 companies has never been determined or concluded. In the context of implementing the injunction by court, URA stopped levying VAT on rice imports on the 14 companies, but continued levying it on other rice importers. The impact of this was that some of the players in the rice production and trade were paying VAT, while others were not. This created an unleveled playing field and caused distortions in the rice market, giving the 14 companies an undue advantage over all the other players in the rice value chain. In addition, the practice was a clear deviation from the principles governing taxation of fairness, equity, and non-discrimination. Honorable members, more details of the background on page 6 and 7 respectively. Allow me to take you to page 9. Terms of reference. In executing its mandate, the committee was guided by the following terms of reference: to intervene in the matter and carry out an exhaustive investigation into the arbitrary halting of clearance of VAT-exempt rice imports with a view of finding a lasting solution for the affected importers who are condemned and hard. 2, to explore and find remedial mitigation strategies devised to abate the continued loss being suffered by the VAT exempt rice importers whose consignments stand bound at Mutukula border. 3, to investigate the existence and operations of RADFO, and lastly, to make appropriate recommendations in regard to the issues under investigation. The methodology, honorable members, the committee employed the following methods. The committee held meetings and received a number of verbal testimonies from key witnesses, several of whom presented written briefs. Witnesses included leaders and officials from the following institutions: the petitioners, Kampala Rice Traders, the Consortium of Rice Traders Association, Uganda Rice Millers Grain Council, Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, URA, Clearing Agents Association, government entities at the border, agriculture specifically and UNBS, border internal security, Uganda Police Force, local government leadership at Mutukula border, the mayor and the area MPs. The committee also employed desk research in carrying out this investigation and findings. Honorable members, on page 11, the findings and observations of the committee. The committee has examined the petition, received memoranda, interviewed various stakeholders, and scrutinized documentary evidence. The committee therefore submits the findings. The committee established that from 2015 onwards, the government of Uganda introduced new policies which affected the rice sector as follows. June 2014, VAT was introduced on domestic rice with an exemption on imports. This affected local millers and subsequently farmers. Production of rice stagnated as imports rose to 98,981 metric tons from the 11-year average of 56,421 metric tons. December 2014, there was a reverse of the VAT on domestic rice. This led to a rebound of the sector. Production increased in 2015, while imports of milled rice reduced. Self-sufficiency increased to about 80%. 2015-2016 special concession rate of $250 per ton was granted by the Ministry of Finance to one company to import brown rice. Brown rice imports soared to 114,000 metric tons in 2016 alone. Domestic prices crashed, wiping out most of the milled rice importers. Most milled rice importers lost businesses. Domestic production plummeted as rice farmers opted for other better paying crops, among others. January 2017, special concessions were withdrawn by the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. Once again, the sector was put back on a recovery level. May 2018, His Excellency the President, upon realizing that there were rice deficits in the country, had increased allowing 11 millers to import a total of 114,000 metric tons of brown rice over a period of 2 years at a concession rate of $150 per ton. Honorable members, on page 12, with effect from 1st July 2014, Parliament amended the VAT Act, whereby milled rice importers to Uganda, milled rice imported to Uganda was subject to 18% VAT. According to URA, the injunction covered only the 14 companies and not other rice importers. With this selective and discriminatory practice, unfair competition emerged. The rice sector was put to a big strain. Uganda Revenue Authority informed the committee that VAT foregone from the 14 countries since the onset of the court injunction until June 30th, 2022 is 186,286,946,600 shillings. There is also one company, MS Abba Construction, that is importing under a standalone court injunction with VAT foregone to a tune of 19,694,877,233 shillings as of June 2022. Therefore, the total of the VAT foregone due to the injunction is a total of 137,981,823,833 shillings. On 21st April, the Minister of State, Honorable Harriet Mtabazi, wrote a letter to the Commissioner General of Customs ordering him to cease clearance of VAT exempt rice imports until further notice. She further informed the Commissioner that the Ministry will subsequently engage them and other stakeholders in regard to the matter in due course. On 27th,
You say the letter was written.
yes,
Do you have that copy?
yes, we have all the letters.
You named.
Can I lay them at the end? I have all of them.
Okay.
She further informed the Commissioner General that the ministry will subsequently engage them and other stakeholders in regard to the matter in due course. On 27th April 2022, Julius Nkwasire Mponoka, the Deputy Commissioner Customs of URA, wrote an internal memo effecting the hold of clearance of VAT exempt reversed a week later by the Commissioner Customs, Abel Kagumire, as specified during his appearance before the committee. Honorable members, there's a picture there. Unfortunately, it is black and white. The Honorable Minister wrote a letter to the Commissioner, Deputy Commissioner Customs, who implemented her directive to hold clearance of VAT-exempt rice. The committee was informed by the rice importers, stock traders, that this directive by the minister caused them immense losses, namely the cost of hiring trucks per day spent at the border, cancellation of all the contracts from various customers in Uganda, theft of rice from the trucks at the border, and psychological trauma of running out of business. Observations of the committee. The committee observes that the letter the minister wrote to hold clearance of VAT-exempt rice is a clear matter of political interference and abuse of office, which resulted in 2 losses suffered by the traders as a result of a 7-day standoff at the border. The committee observes that court in 2014 issued an injunction arising from civil suit 880/2014 restraining URA from collecting VAT on imported rice from the 15 companies, which caused government financial loss in VAT collections worth 137,981,823,833 shillings. The committee observes that it is trite law that the duration of an injunction is determined by the nature of the injunction granted by court. An injunction can be interim for a short period of time, temporary, until further determination of the suit for which it is issued, or permanent, which is issued in perpetuity. In this case, involving the 14 companies, the injunction issued was temporary, meaning it subsists until final determination of the suit. In this case, the appeal filed against the findings of court in civil suit 880/2014. This meant that URA could not, until further determination of the appeal, levy VAT on the 14 companies. The committee finds that there is inordinate, unreasonable, and excessive delay in determining the appeal, a matter that has affected the competitiveness of the rice subsector and allowed fraudulent practices to take root. The committee notes that the delay in the final determination of the appeal arising from civil suit 880/2014 of 8 years is a long time and has affected URA's tax collection strategies, distorted the rice prices in Uganda, and created an avenue for unfair competition in the rice subsector. The committee observes that the appeal was filed and the temporary order issued. SWT Turners Limited and 13 other companies have not taken steps to prosecute the appeal, and likewise URA has not been proactive to ensure that the steps are taken to vacate the appeal. The committee observes that whereas there is no timeline prescribed under the laws of Uganda to determine appeals of the nature arising from civil suit No. 880/2014, where there is a delay in prosecuting the appeal, like in this case, a party to the appeal may apply to court to dismiss the appeal for want of prosecution. In this case, URA should have been proactive enough to ensure that the appeal is prosecuted in time, and where it is not done, URA should apply to court to dismiss the appeal. The committee observes that the delay in determining the appeal has profound effects on the economy and has affected the trade order in the rice importation. The committee was informed that since the imposition of the injunction by the court, the 14 companies have not paid VAT on their batches of imported rice, while other companies are not party to the court order and are thus paying the VAT. The injunction also created unfair competition in the rice import business, since the VAT-paying companies cannot favorably compete with the non-VAT paying companies. This has resulted in the domination of the rice trade by the 14 companies, since VAT-paying companies cannot compete. The committee also notes that there is an increase in the fraudulent activities arising from the discrimination of VAT payments between the companies that were subject to the court order and those that were not. The committee was informed that in order for companies that are not subject to the court order to remain competitive, they have resorted to importing rice through the 15 companies that are subject to the court order. This state of affairs has meant that the 15 companies, some of which are no longer in the rice import businesses, have continued to unjustly enrich themselves by charging fees to use their tin in importing rice. The committee observes that consequently many other companies applied to the Ministry of Trade and acquired import permits exempting VAT. The number of companies importing rice under this scheme rose tremendously to 75 companies as of today, and the volumes of Tanzanian rice imported into Uganda increased beyond the demand. Import permits, Honorable Members and Right Honorable Speaker, the Minister of Trade and Cooperatives, Honorable Francis Mwebesa, informed the committee that in order to ensure stability in the rice sector and mitigate the domestic impact of the rice sector, an administrative measure would be put in place under External Trade Act Cap 88 to control quantities of rice that came into the country and that come into the country. This is how the issuance of the import permits for rice started to create a leveled playing field for the rice traders. Additionally, the State Minister of Trade, Honorable Ntabazi, informed the committee that the circumstances that led to a rise in the issuance of permits arose from unfair application of tax laws and the delayed conclusion of the appeal case, which has made the temporary injunction and stay till 2014. The ministry issues permits to whichever company applied for it as long as they met the conditions, since the main aim of the ministry was to remove the discriminatory practices. The criteria and conditions for issuing these permits are as follows: the certificate of registration, trading license, updated returns from URA, updated returns from Uganda Registry Service Bureau, tax clearance certificates from URA, tax registration certificates from Uganda Revenue Authority. However, interaction with various stakeholders revealed that there were various challenges faced by the rice traders in a bid to get the rice import permits. As explored and discovered, there was an official additional requirement as at January 1st this year, which was pegged on the issuance of permits, and it stated as follows: endorsement by the Apex Association as being desirable. This was the situation on ground as received from the testimonies of the witnesses, and yet this was excluded from the submission made before the committee by the Ministry of Trade officials. For example, the petitioners submitted to the committee evidence of a recommendation letter addressed to the State Minister, Honorable Ntabazi, of NICFA Financial Services Limited, a rice importation company, signed by Sekavera Hassan, the chairperson of Rice Agri-Business Development Foundation, RADFO. In relation to the above, a One National Rice Traders Association Limited and Wilex Rice Traders Association claimed that their import permits were withdrawn for failure to cooperate with RADFO by not paying the required dues. This was corroborated by a letter dated 21st February 2022 to the Commissioner General of URA by the Minister, Honorable Ntabazi, informing him that those two companies were not compliant with the Apex body known as RADFO. The committee was informed by One Nasolo, a director of Nasolo Rice Traders and an LC1 chairperson at Mutukula area. Process including bribery, abuse of office. She informed the committee that while processing the permit, she interfaced with the Honorable Minister Harriet Ntabazi, who advised her to take 20 million shillings to a one Atwine Emmanuel, a project manager for the National Response Strategy on the elimination of non-tariff barriers at the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, and she did. However, the 20 million shillings was seemingly not sufficient, and she was compelled to add another 10 million shillings, which she did, and therefore got the permit. The committee observes that the introduction and issuance of permits opened scenarios of abuse of office and bribery at the expense of rice traders. For example, restricting issuance of import permits to companies which did not subscribe to RADFO, this was the Apex body, resulted into permit vending. This came as a result of the fact that not all companies were issued with import permits were importing rice. Those companies that did not possess permits were forced to import through those with license and had to pay 180,000 shillings to RADFO per ton. The committee observes that the issuance of import permits failed to achieve its purpose in managing and controlling excess rice importation as stated by the minister, both in their documents and testimonies. This also contravenes what the Uganda Rice Millers Council's objective of protecting the domestic rice value chain. For example, the ministry has continued to issue several permits to the tune of 75, each being allocated a tune of 4,000 metric tons, totaling to 300,000 metric tons. And yet the deficit in the country is just a mere 114,000 metric tons. Rice Agribusiness Development Foundation, this is the apex body. The committee was informed that Rice Agribusiness Development Foundation, RADFO, is a registered association which was officially launched on 30th September 2021 by the first Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for East African Affairs, the Right Honorable Rebecca Alitwala Kadaga. RADFO was founded by traders who possessed rice import permits. Establishment and operation of RADFO as an apex body. The committee was informed by the Minister of Trade, Honorable Francis Mwewesa, that the Ministry of Trade observed that most of the companies that obtained permits were instead using them to clear rice consignments for other companies that did not possess permits through the border. In essence, trading in permits as opposed to trading in rice. The minister further informed the committee that to create order, they held two stakeholder meetings on 14th December 2021 and 22nd December 2021 at the office of the first Deputy Prime Minister. He further Association and Rice Agribusiness Development Association. The minister further informed the committee that the choice of RADFO came as a result of the fact that RDA had opted out and RBSA had served its term. Consequently, the Rice Agribusiness, the apex body by the Minister of Trade, Honorable Harriet Ntabazi, through a letter dated 23rd December 2021. In the letter, the minister stated as follows: as you recall, in the meeting chaired by myself and the office of the Prime Minister, held on 14th and 22nd December 2021 respectively, all rice importers operating at the Mutukula were tasked to organize themselves into an agreeable body for proper self-regulation. Government has noted with dismay that the importers failed to come to an agreement on the matter, threatening to cause additional injury to the economy. In order to save the sector from further injury and save millions of farmers and millers, government has assigned you the responsibility of acting as the apex body of rice importers. January 30th June, 1st January to 30th June 2022. The assignment takes immediate effect. The Minister of Trade, working with other respective ministries, departments, and agencies, will keep providing you with policy and technical support for better management of the sector. By a copy of this letter, other existing rice importers associations at the border are advised to work under you. This was a letter the minister wrote delegating her official powers to a private body to regulate the rice sector. RADFO operations and mode of work. RADFO commenced operations at Mutukula on the 12th January 2022 and introduced a number of mechanisms which they said were intended to curb importation of rice from Tanzania. For instance, they imposed a charge of 230,000 shillings on every ton of rice imported into Uganda. This charge was reduced to 180,000 shillings following complaints from traders. The committee was informed by Lieutenant Sebunya Alex, the Border Intelligence Security Officer, that in order to enforce traders' payment of the 180,000 per ton, RADFO, with effect from 12th January, manned the Ugandan exit gate at Mutukula, and no rice importing truck was allowed to exit without clearing with it the 180,000 per ton. This disrupted the normal flow of trucks and necessitated security intervention. Initially, security intervened and required RADFO to operate, and this pushed RADFO to operate now at the entry gate. They were pushed from the exit gate, now they went to the entry gate, and they did the same. However, security still intervened, and this pushed them now to the no man's land. There's about 100 meters between the Tanzanian gate and our gate. That's what they call the no man's land.
So this is now where they were operating. The committee was further informed that RADFO operated using coercive means and at times reached the extent of manhandling traders that attempted to disregard their orders. Honorable members, when we were at the border, the stakeholders told us that these were very big and energetic people, and some were ex-soldiers, and at one point they manhandled even the police officers at the gate. During the public hearings of the committee, revealed that URA could not border arrive the trucks of their clients before they could prove payment and clearance by RAD4. RAD4 informed the committee that only 2 companies, Zeus Agro Limited and SWT Tanners Limited, out of the 75, was not paying the 180,000 shillings charged per ton. The Secretary General of RAD4, Mr. Sekandi Moses, informed the committee that the fee of 180,000 per ton of rice was introduced to increase the price of imported rice to protect local farmers. Mr. Sekandi further informed the committee that between January 1st up to 28th of February 2022, RAD4 collected a total of 1.6984800 billion. Mr. Sekindi further informed the committee that RAD4 had never opened a bank account in any financial institution in Uganda, and money was kept in a money changer's shop called Christine for security purposes, and was later distributed equally amongst its members, regardless of who had imported that week or not. So this RAD4 formed an association. It had 75 companies registered under this association, but about 26 were importing rice. But they would collect 180,000 and share it even amongst those that were not importing. The committee notes that by the time of the committee's visit on 4th August 2022, RAD4 had ceased to operate at the Ugandan Gate and the No Man's Land, but was still within the vicinity. Upon request of the committee, Uganda Revenue Authority submitted a special printout of the companies that imported rice from Tanzania between 1st January to 22nd May 2022. It was established from the report that between January 1st and February 28th, 2022, when RAD4 was actively operating at the border, a total of 99,131,312 kilograms of rice were imported. The committee observes the following: that between 1st January and 28th February, according to URA submissions, the 99,131 kilograms, equivalent to 99,131 metric tons, each paying 180,000, amounts to 17,843,160, as opposed to a figure submitted by RAD4's Secretary General of shillings 1.69 billion. This discrepancy, which amounts to about 16 billion, shows how RAD4 extorted very huge sums of money from rice importers and indirectly denied government huge sums of revenue. The committee observes that the money is paid, these 180,000 per ton, were neither receipted nor banked, but rather fictitious documents were purported to be a clearance from the apex board. What we mean is, if you paid 2 million, they will just give you a small sheet written on cleared and signed. They will not indicate how much you have paid. The committee further observes that the letter written by the State Minister, Honorable Harriet Ntabazi, dated 22nd December 2021, appointing RAD4 an apex body, did not have clear terms of reference on how RAD4 was going to save the rice sector from further injury, but rather a promise of policy and technical support from the ministry, departments, and agencies. The committee observes that whereas the Cabinet Minister of Trade, Honorable Francis Mwegosa, justified the appointment of RAD4 as the apex body on the basis that Rice Business Sector Association, RBSA, had served its term, it was established that RBSA was never appointed an apex body in the past by the Ministry of Trade. The committee observes that whereas the Minister of Trade states that Rice Development Association opted out during the stakeholders meeting held on 14th and 22nd December 2021, RDA was never officially invited for both meetings. As evident, we have both invitation letters for both meetings, and RDA was never invited. The committee further observes that although RAD4 received money on behalf of government, since they were exercising purported powers of the Ministry of Trade, they did not deposit the funds arising from the payment of 180,000 per ton onto the consolidated fund. Instead, the funds were collected, received, and receipted by RAD4 and shared as follows. 100,000 was allocated to the directors of the different companies that were members of RAD4. 40,000 was given to the clearing agent, 30,000 for RAD4 administrative costs, and 10,000 for brokers. This is what they informed us. The committee observes that with the establishment of RAD4, different rights associations were advised to work under the association with RAD4 as an apex body, and many could not opt out in order to protect their businesses. The companies that refused to join RAD4 had their permits withdrawn and reviewed. This above observation is evidenced in a letter dated 21st February 2022, signed by the State Minister, Honorable Harriet Mutabazi, in which he stated as follows. These two companies have failed to comply with the apex body and thus causing disruptions that pose serious injury to domestic market. Volumes allocated to the import permits of Wilex Commodities and National Investment Limited have been reduced from 4,000 metric tons to 500 metric tons respectively for the period ending 30th June. In circumstances, these companies have already exhausted the 500 metric tons limit. They will wait for the next licensing period starting 1st July to December 2022. The committee observes that the advice was tantamount to mandatory association of different associations in contravention of 29(1)(e) of the Constitution, which guarantees a person right to freedom of association, including freedom to form and join associations or unions, trade unions, political and other civic organizations. This further contravened Article 42 of the Constitution, which guarantees the right of a person to practice his or her profession and to carry out any lawful occupation, trade, or business. The committee observes that the mandatory requirement for the rights traders to join RAD4 as the only means for them to continue trading defeats the purpose of Article 29(1)(e) and 42 of the Constitution and has the effect of denying the associations of rice importers the right to enjoy their fundamental rights guaranteed under those constitutional provisions. The committee observes that the operation of RAD4 contravened Article 42 if they prevented traders and trader associations that had not joined RAD4 from importing, clearing, and trading in rice. The committee was informed that the trader associations and the traders who had not joined RAD4 were prevented from importing rice into Uganda, even when they possessed valid import permits. Those who managed to import rice faced difficulties at the border point in Mutukula, since their trucks would be impounded if they did not possess receipt indicating they had cleared with RAD4. The committee therefore finds the establishment and operation of RAD4 not only contravened the Constitution but also distorted trade order in the rice and hindered fair participation in the rice trade, as well as the achievement of government objective of reducing the reliance on imported rice. The committee observed that designation of RAD4 as the apex body was irregular since the minister delegated functions of the ministry to a private body. The committee is of the considered view that the executive functions of the state are granted to the president under Article 99 of the Constitution, which is to the effect that the executive authority of Uganda is vested in the president and shall be exercised in accordance with the Constitution and the laws of Uganda. In exercising his authority, the president is empowered in Article 111 to appoint a cabinet, which consists of the vice president and such number of ministers as may appear to the president to be reasonably necessary for the efficient running of the state. Ministers appointed by the president exercise such functions of government. The committee notes that the mandate of the minister responsible for trade, industry, and comparatives is to formulate, review, and support policies, strategies, plans, and programs that promote and assure expansion and diversification of trade, cooperatives, environmentally stable industrialization, appropriate technology development, and transfer to generate wealth for poverty eradication and benefit the country socially and economically. In performance of these functions, the ministry formulates and reviews where necessary appropriate policies. The committee notes that delegating the functions of the ministry to RAD4, the Minister of State, Honorable Harriet Mutabazi, acted irregularly and delegating those powers since the minister is also exercising delegated functions from the executive, which cannot be delegated. There was no evidence adduced before the committee that the minister possessed authorization from the cabinet or the president on whom the executive functions of government are bestowed to delegate the functions. It is a recognized principle of law that a person to whom a decision-making power has been delegated to from a higher authority cannot in turn delegate them to another unless the original delegation explicitly authorizes it. In Uganda, there are a number of cases that have discussed the legality of the irregular delegation of delegated powers, and courts have found that in such a situation, the person who delegated the powers, who delegated those functions did so irregularly. Indeed, in the case of Uganda Law Society vs. Kampala City Council Authority, High Court Miscellaneous Cause 243 of 2017, court tells that a delegate must exercise its jurisdiction within the four corners of its delegation, and if he has acted beyond that, his or her actions cannot have legal sanction and is challengeable by way of judicial review. The committee therefore finds that delegation of the functions of the Minister of Trade to RADFO was irregular since the Minister was exercising delegated powers of the executive. The committee observed that once a trader had paid and received a permit and met their tax obligation, URA to URA, there are no longer any other charges that would be required of that trader for importing rice into Uganda. The imposition of the charge by RADFO was therefore illegal since it was not imposed under the authority of any law. Indeed, Section 29(1) of the Public Finance Management Act 2015 gives direction on the collection and deposit of revenue, and it bars its collection, receipt, retained by vote, state enterprise or public corporation as authorized by an act of parliament. The committee therefore finds that RADFO, being a private company, could not collect or retain revenue without authorization. This charge imposed by RADFO was therefore arbitrary, fraudulent, deceitful, criminal, illegal, unacceptable in a democratic society. The committee further observes that the mode of collecting and sharing the charges imposed by RADFO was irregular, since it was imposed on the traders who are not members of RADFO. In addition, the charge was collected in a manner unknown under the law, since the funds were collected by persons who are not authorized under the law and deposited on personal accounts contrary to the specific provisions of the PFMA Act 2015. The committee notes that Section 31 of the PFMA Act requires that all revenues or other monies raised or received for the purpose of the government shall be paid into and shall form part of the consolidated fund. The monies collected by RADFO would ordinarily be monies of the government, since RADFO was exercising functions delegated to it by the Minister of Trade. Therefore, the monies collected by RADFO would be deposited onto the consolidated fund as required in Section 30 and be utilized under the authority of the Appropriations Act and required in Article 156 of the Constitution and Section 32 of the by RADFO not only distorted trade order and increased the price of rice in Uganda, but also occasioned loss of revenue to government and traders. The charge also amounted to a non-tariff barrier to trade and is prohibited under the EAC Customs Union. The committee is therefore of the considered opinion that the clearing agents were also in connivance with RADFO to please their clients. Before, the clearing agents were getting just 40,000 to 50,000 shillings per truck. But now when RADFO came, they started with RADFO, and they were now getting a tune of 40,000 per ton. This means a total of about 520,000 as opposed to the 40,000 they were getting. So the committees of the considered opinion that the agents were also, the clearing agents were also working with the RADFO to please clients who are the traders. The committee is also of the considered opinion that much as RADFO shared the revenues collected on a weekly basis with different beneficiaries, about half of these companies registered under RADFO were actually not into the rice importation business. 6.4, the interference of the rice trade by Honorable Harriet Ntabazi. His interaction with stakeholders during this investigation, the committee was informed that the Honorable Minister Harriet Ntabazi, Minister of State for Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, has on numerous occasions exceeded her powers and issued orders that have distorted the trade order in the rice trade. The committee was informed And it has indeed made findings that Honorable Harriet Ntabazi has exceeded her authority in some of the matters involving the trade order in the rice subsector. For instance, the committee was informed that the minister issued directives contained in a letter dated 21st April 2022 to the Commissioner General Customs, to the Commissioner Customs, Uganda Revenue Authority, wherein the minister directed URA to cease clearance of VAT-exempt rice imports, save for the rice imported by the 15 companies that were part of the court order. The committee was also informed that the minister irregularly and without lawful authority instituted RAD4 as an apex body in the rice subsector without involving the rice traders and association. The committee finds that the actions of the minister are disruptive and do not encourage trade order in the rice trade. The committee further finds that the minister acted unfairly when she issued directives to URA to stop rice imports without affording rice traders a fair hearing, considering that most of the traders had obtained permits and had imported rice using the very permits the Honorable Minister had directed to bar. The directive by the minister not only resulted in two massive losses to traders but also disrupted trade order since the rice traders suspended their operations, resulting into an increase in the price of rice in Uganda. The committee finds that the directive by the minister to URA was ultra-vires in her functions since she has no mandate over tax matters. Furthermore, the failure of the minister to hear from the traders before imposing arbitrary orders exposes government to unnecessary litigation. There is an example of a court case, honorable members, for the interest of time. Allow me to take you to page 29. Administration irregularities in the rice business sector. Whereas RAD4 did not own a bank account in a formal banking institution, and the proceeds of a weekly collection was distributed on a weekly basis out of the 70 companies allegedly registered and subscribed under RAD4. 36 companies did not import at all during this period. So there are 36 who got permits. They were not importing, but they were sharing the total collection. Connivance and fraud by government entities and government officials. It's noteworthy that in the process of goods clearance at Mutukula border point, there are 4 government entities which work along with URA to clear goods entering the country. These include URA, UNBS, Agriculture Unit, and clearing agents who are appointed by URA in conjunction with the companies they work for and the Immigration Department. The testimonies from the witnesses during the public meeting by the Committee of Mutukula border stakeholders who are the rice importers, stock traders, testified that to the committee that namely Miss Bonita Chomhendo informed the committee that there were extra fees that were charged besides the official dues, and these were not receipted, namely 100,000 per truck by the agriculture officer named Kasozi, 100,000 per truck by the UNBS officer named Luganda Thomas. Recommendations, honorable members. The minister responsible for trade should with immediate effect withdraw the illegal, irregular, and RAD4 as the apex body in regard to the rice trade. The Minister of State for Industry, Honorable Harriet Ntabazi's actions are tantamount to abuse of office, corruption, facilitating corrupt transactions with agents, bribery, influence peddling, conflict of interest, which are all crimes provided for under the Anti-Corruption Act of 2009. Therefore, the committee recommends the following. The IGG carries out, the Inspectorate of Government carries out further investigations with the aim of prosecution of the State Minister, Honorable Harriet Ntabazi. The appointing authority should take appropriate action against the Minister of State for Trade, Honorable Harriet Ntabazi. The Minister should take political responsibility for her actions. And lastly, Parliament should therefore take appropriate actions against the Minister in respect to her conduct above. 3, the committee recommends that civil action be instituted against Rice Agribusiness Foundation, which is RAD for the apex body, with the aim of obtaining compensation amounting to 17.8 billion, which was illegally, unlawfully, illegitimately, dishonestly, fraudulently, and unpatriotically collected from the traders, stock importers. Fourth, the committee recommends that the witnesses that appeared before it and gave evidence pertaining the crimes of corruption under Section 2B of the Anti-Corruption Act 2009 should be given state protection and considered as state witnesses during the investigations and prosecution initiated by the Inspectorate of Government. 5. Upon consideration of Mrs. Nasolo as a state witness in the 30 million bribe, Mr. Atwine, project manager for the National Response Strategy on the elimination of non-tariff barriers at the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, who allegedly received the bribe on behalf of the minister. The committee recommends that his immediate arrest the committee recommends that he should be immediately arrested with a view of prosecution for crimes under the Anti-Corruption Act. Based on the testimonies of the witnesses, where UNBS officer Mr. Luganda Thomas and agriculture officer Mr. Kasazi allegedly are receiving 100,000 shillings per truck each through a proxy of clearing agents, notwithstanding the fact that the committee could not get substantive evidence to this effect. The committee recommends the transfer of these officers with immediate effect from Mutukula border post to portion in accordance with the Uganda Public Service Standing Orders 2021. Number 7, based on the testimonies of the witnesses where it was alleged that URA was denying rice importers to border arrive. Remember, border arrive is when you clear. Border arrive is when you clear all your requirements. Order. Based on the testimonies from the witness where it was alleged that URA denied rice importers to border arrive their goods even after they had completed all the URA legal requirements in order to first present proof of clearance from RAD 4. This is clear indication that URA was in connivance with RAD 4 to fleece the rice importers of the 180,000 per ton. The committee therefore recommends that the URA manager, Mutukula Border, Mr. Gikuyakare Peter, URA supervisor, Mr. Rumena Richard, be relieved of their official duties with immediate effect as further investigations are carried out in accordance with the Public Service Standing Orders 2021. 8. URA should carry out a forensic audit on all companies that have been importing rice, collecting withholding tax, and not remitting it with a view of recovering it. 9. Minister of Trade should stop issuing permits, which is a non-tariff barrier and against the Customs Union regulations and the EAC Treaty. 10. The committee recommends the CID of police carries out investigations and retrieves the video footage of URA customs at the border and prosecutes any government official, including security officers, who participated, facilitated, and aided RAD 4's illegal activities. Lastly, honorable members and right honorable speaker, general recommendations. The appointing authority cautions all members of the executive against delegating their functions and authority, as well as acting ultra-vires of their mandate, a phenomenon which has become a trend in consideration of the investigations carried out by this committee. The government should fast-track the rehabilitation of the Masaka-Mutukula Road that is in a very sorry, dire, regretful, disappointing state that impedes the trade and jeopardizes Uganda's beneficial interests in the common market protocol of the EAC. Lastly, honorable members, the government should prioritize support financially and technically to all domestic rice farmers so that they are in position to compete favorably with the EAC market. Right, honorable speaker and honorable members, I beg to submit.
Thank you so much, Chair. Thank you for the report. I just need a clarification on recommendations. 1, the minister responsible for trade should, with immediate effect, withdraw the illegal, irregular, and lawful. You're saying the ministry. Can you be specific on who?
Right, honorable speaker, we have the considered opinion that all the ministers will take collective responsibility and they are present. So we are.
No, I want it included here, Minister Nicha, Minister Mpaka, Minister so and so.
Are we amending? The Honorable Minister of Trade, who wrote the letter, Honorable Barrett Ntabaz, should with immediate effect withdraw the illegal, irregular, unlawful, unprecedented, illicit letter designating RAD4 as the apex body in regard to the rice trade.
Then you go to 2C. 2C, the ministers should take political and moral responsibility. Moral should be included there. Amen.
2C, the minister should take political and moral responsibility for her actions.
General recommendations. The appointing authority should caution all members of the executive against delegating their powers. Who are those ones who should be cautioned?
Right, Honorable Speaker.
You never write a report without bringing in. That is.
Right, Honorable Speaker. This was in consideration of the investigation this committee, the Committee on Trade, has carried out. So we're generalizing that the appointing authority should caution all the members of the executive.
We want it specific to this report.
Okay.
Specific to this report.
The appointing authority should caution the State Minister, Honorable Harriet Ntabazi, against delegating her functions and authority, as well as acting ultra-vires
Procedure
of her mandate, a phenomenon which has become a trend in consideration of the investigations carried out by this committee.
Honorable members, you've heard the report. Can we open the debate? Or is Honorable Harriet here? Honorable Harriet, do you have anything to say? Please.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker and the Honorable House. I want to thank you for this opportunity that I've always yearned for, to be listened to, which I wasn't accorded at the committee level. Madam Speaker.
Is that true?
Yes.
Can I hear from the chair?
Right, Honorable Speaker and honorable members. On the 16th of June, Honorable Ntabazi appeared before the committee, and some of our submissions in this report are derived from her submission, written and signed, which I have here.
Can you lay that on table? Let Honorable Mpaka first lay the submission. Honorable members, we are also going to get the cameras, the footages in that committee room.
Right, Honorable Speaker and honorable members. Statement by Honorable Harriet Ntabazi, Minister of State for Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, to the Parliamentary Sectoral Committee on Tourism, Trade and Industry, 18th May, signed. I beg to leave.
Thank you. Can I have a look at that letter? Yes.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, in that regard, where the minister has categorically said that she was never given a chance to be listened to, and finding out that actually she even tended, no, is it not procedurally right? Tell us truth and only truth.
Honorable,
She has a problem, I think.
Honorable Minister, is this report yours?
She's confused. No, she's not well.
Right Honorable Speaker, this report is on another matter different from what is on the table. The issues that were raised here did not surface in the letter that invited me to the committee. So when I appeared before the committee, I came with the issues that were raised at that time. But when the questions came, I stood to respond, and they told me to go back, that to make a comprehensive report that I would present to the committee, which chance has not been accorded, Madam Speaker.
Did you have any other issue with the committee apart from that one?
The issues that they raised in the deliberations and discussions by members were the ones that I was guided by the very chair who is reading here.
But
that I should
at the
go.
beginning you said you are not called to the committee.
The matters are quite different, Madam Speaker.
What were the matters?
Give me my document.
The matters that are in the report are quite totally different from the ones that I was supposed to answer at that issue.
Which committee now? So which committee did she stand before? On another matter. Which committee was it? The members are against the committee.
Honorable Tabasi, do you read what you have in regards to what you have raised?
Leave me. I stand to respond to the allegations that are raised against me in this August House. Now, members, the main objective of putting private sector entities like CASITA, Uganda Manufacturers Association, and other associations as an apex body was to enhance proper self-regulation of the importance to create stability, predictability, and trade order in the sector, especially at the border. This was particularly more urgent for the January to June 2022 licensing period, because the preceding licensing period of June to December 2021, which had a lot of irregularities and complaints and fights, direct fights at the border, and I, as the minister, had to intervene. During the preceding period, The apex body was the Rice Business Sector Limited, which is part of the petitioner right now, which caused a lot of fighting at the border, fighting for sectarian issues and all those. And I came on top of those issues to preside and bring sanity at the border. A period during which constant fights were several reported. That's when I called multiple meetings at the office of the Prime Minister, and as guided also by the First Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for East African Community, who handles all the trade in the East African Community. So the environment which was created by them was unconducive, because the threat was even going beyond the borders of the country. It was even in Tanzania. The traders were trembled, and as the minister, I had to control and put to order the private sector, not to collide with our colleagues in the Republic of Tanzania. Madam Speaker, from the engagements that we had, there was URA on board, the Minister of Finance was on board, the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries was on board, the private sector, the players themselves were on board, the millers and the producers of rice were on board, plus the Traders Association, Madam Speaker. Now, by that time, we had 3 associations. One, the rice business sector was in lead, but there was also the Rice Development Foundation, and there was the place. The meetings directed these entities to agree among themselves who would take leadership for the January to June licensing period. But these organizations were also given 2 weeks after that meeting to agree, which they did not do, Madam Speaker. Instead, because of the fights that were on the border, we are now transferred to the headquarters, and my office was there to mediate and bring order in the business. Madam Speaker, these associations, like any other, because we don't have Uganda National Chambers of Commerce, which is very actively involving everybody in business, we are trying our level best to bring the associations so that traders have sanity and traders have order in doing business, so that now we build a strong chambers of commerce, which is our dream. And I thought this committee would help me to come together, bring together traders, so that we form a strong chambers of commerce, which can negotiate with other countries. Wherever we go, we find chambers of commerce, but the committee has not helped. So, dear colleagues, the decision of government to assign Radical as the apex body wasn't a selective one person's decision. It was a collective decision by all the members, including even the association. What were the terms and reference of the Radical? The terms and reference of Radical.
Just a minute.
Yes.
You said Radical, whichever. You made a decision together with them. Who are they to government? I thought if you're to make a decision, it must be an extract from cabinet. And who are they to government?
Madam, you meet the Radical?
Yes.
No, these associations, like I read you the 3 associations that were at the border operating at Mutukula. There are 3 organizations that were at the border by that time. and there are still 3, by the way, others are still forming, that one of which was in leadership by then and had formed against the other one, which was torturing them and making their life difficult. And this one had 72 members out of the 75 companies. So only 2 companies belonged to the other company that was initial.
Order, right, Honorable Speaker. Order.
Honorable Mbua, you have to finish. Then you will bring your question.
Can I proceed, Right Honorable? Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members. I want to thank you so much. I wanted to, Madam Speaker, to present to the House the terms and references of this committee, of the RADFO at the time we knew about it. The terms and references of RADFO were never to collect any money from anybody, and it wasn't written in the letter that I wrote telling them to affect the trade of rice. There was nothing totally to do with the collection of any funds. Now, the terms of reference were specifically acting as a private sector apex body for which members and the importers would come together and self-regulate to avoid the infighting and the chaos at the border which had been experienced and had been reported to the ministry severally.
Can you summarize?
This assignment was in an interim one. It wasn't a concluded one. Even the letter is showing an interim one as we engage other stakeholders on board so that we come up with a concrete decision. Now, why is getting a permit? No. Honorable members, there is nowhere, I'll still insist, there is nowhere in my communication, Madam Speaker, where I indicated that RADFO go and collect money and divide it like this and do ABCD. That's not me as the minister. It's not anywhere. So for somebody to stand here and say, I put RADFO and said go and collected money and what, that's not me, madam. So there are terms and references of how one gets a permit, Madam Speaker. If given permission, let me proceed and mention them. Now, the terms and conditions of a permit from the ministry are very, very easy and follows a documented criteria. All applicants who meet the criteria below are supposed to get a permit. 1, a certificate of registration for their companies, a trading license for their companies, and updated returns from Uganda Registration Service Bureau, the tax clearance certificate from the Uganda Revenue Authority, and the tax registration certificate from Uganda Revenue Authority. And I put in that permit terms and conditions for one to fulfill so that you really add value to the production and the importation of rice sector in Uganda. For this permit is exclusively issued to the applicant and is not transferable, which some of the companies were doing. You get a permit, you transfer it to another person to operate on your behalf, which is against totally the Ministry of Trade guidelines. And then the permit is valid for only 6 months. The permit the company must take steps to involve in domestic rice production and processing. I've been moving around and checking who was doing this, because now the sector cannot be, the rice sector cannot be left to only importers, killing the production and the milling sector of this country. As the president directed, I had to make sure that I follow up to those people who are crying that the mills are redundant when the rice is not there. So we are trying to put to balance between the producers, the millers, and the traders. Then lastly, the non-compliance of the conditions would permit withdrawing of these requirements. And by the way, the permit also was supposed to have a bi-monthly return. You are supposed to have a bi-monthly return to show that you are utilizing the permit. If you don't utilize the permit, inform the ministry that we are not utilizing the permit, maybe because the capital to use is not enough, or maybe I am still settling myself, or whatever. So those ones that I removed, I reduced and regulated were those ones that were not complying with the returns and the terms and conditions of the permit. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you so much, Honorable Harriet. There is just something I want to clear so that it gets out of the record. Do you still insist that you didn't appear in the committee? Do you still insist that you did not appear before the committee?
Madam Speaker and honorable members, colleagues, I indicated here that when I was invited, different issues were raised. But for these particular issues that have been put on me, I did not go back to give them a report because I was not invited.
I want you to look at page 16, that is on 6.2. Additionally, the State Minister of Trade, Honorable Ntavazi, informed the committee that the circumstance that led to the rise of issuance of permits arose from unfair application of the tax laws. That is page 16. And when you look at your report too, your document which you gave to the committee, 3.0, you're talking about the petition by rice millers, which is related to what we are discussing today, which was also in the committee. And then 2.0, we are regulation of imports, which is also in the report. And then 4.0, addressing the issues raised by the Rice Millers. The Rice Millers Council in Uganda. These issues are related to what is in the report. So, you can't say you didn't appear there, even if you appeared there. Yes, members. The debate is open. Madame?
Speaker. Right, Honorable Speaker, I think from the submission of the minister, she didn't bring it out clearly where she derived the mandate from, because that was the first question you asked her. And then secondly, to my own observation, I think this matter is beyond the minister. I think whatever happened, especially with the loss of money, if you look at the issue of the 16 billion, because if you look at the company that was given that mandate, that is a RADFO, they only declared 1 billion out of the 17 billion, implying that the 16 billion, which was supposed to go to the government, the rest of the money went into someone's pocket. So I believe there are those behind that we need to dig deeply so that we find out. Because this seems to be an organization that was only created to work for the interests of others. So, because if you look at the letter, it was instructions given by the minister, but she has totally failed to explain. So maybe we shall need more answers from her. Thank you.
Honorable Speaker, I come from a place where we do a lot of rice. But I want to take this time, first of all, to thank Honorable Mpaka Mine for a good report. And Honorable Speaker, if we have chairperson like Mine Paka, we will do better in the country. He's doing good work. But Honorable Speaker, this problem created at the border affected Ugandans. What I'm seeing with members here, we are trying to sympathize. That is what is happening. But there are a lot of irregularities. Even when the minister is explaining about her letter, even the term of reference is talking about, you cannot be regulating issue of trade, especially rice, to private companies. That is wrong. But my term did not contain issue of collecting money, but it was regulating. How can you give private companies to regulate trade coming to the country? That is wrong. That is totally wrong. Let's start from their point. Then, you see, I don't understand why you are talking about people to get permit for trade of rice. Will you also talk about those to get permission for selling milk? Those who are doing biscuits should also go to you to get permission for selling biscuits. Why should you be giving permission for selling rice every 6 months? What about those selling posho? Is that how we are going to operate? And also, within the East African community, there is free movement of goods and services. Why are you talking about there should be a team at the border to create all those complications for people who are dealing in rights? But I don't know, Speaker, before even we talk about the 14 people who were permitted to import rice, there were many waivers given to selected people. I was personally approached by those who are dealing in rice. You are paying some money, you are given waiver, you don't pay the VAT, and some of others are paying it. We need to create a situation where Ugandans should benefit equally. This is happening in the Ministry of Trade, it is happening in the Ministry of Finance, and this is what is happening now in Uganda. I think the minister should take responsibility for what has been happening. For me, I would have been very happy for the minister to say, maybe where I've gone wrong, we shall correct it. Sincerely, East Africa, there is free movement of goods and services. Why do you create all these complications? Ugandans who are in rice production, they cannot produce rice because there are people who are importing rice without paying taxes, and therefore they sell their rice cheaply, better than those who are producing rice in Uganda. In my area, people have stopped now production of rice because of this. Madam Speaker, I should set myself with the committee and their recommendations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Then Dorcas.
I would like to thank the committee for very good reports. And for some of my colleagues who may not know, I'm called Mama Rice. That's my nickname. And I chair the Rice Association of Uganda. And when I hear discussions around rice, I'm saddened because I've been there at the trenches with the farmers for the last 10 years. Madam Speaker, rice production in this country is 220 and is 450,000. So our deficit is just about 100,000 metric tons. But you realize in that report, permits were given to import 300,000 metric tons.
And as a farmer, that is where the corruption is starting from. You don't know how much rice you need in the country because you want to collect money from people and from bribes, you then over-exaggerate. So whoever was really concerned on that needs to take note that as farmers, we watch the second and imports in this country. The president, our NDP3 has come out very clearly about our efforts as a country for imports. But you see an honorable minister standing here really defending how much he has done to help the traders through private people to collect money. But the same minister, I don't know in their meetings whether she actually knows that in this country, very limited investment is put in the rice production. All the rice that we produce in this country is funded, is milled, and everything by the farmer and the private local investors. So I really implore the minister that instead of going to collect that money and making it eaten in billions, think about investing on the rice farmers. Right Honorable Speaker, this clearly states the uncoordinated movement of our ministries, departments, and agencies. By the time you see a minister going to do a work that URA is supposed to do, then you know there is a problem. Everybody is crumbling where there is money. I think moving on from here, Right Honorable Speaker, and with the committee, if an amendment can be done, that ministries, agencies, and departments got to be coordinated and approach some of these issues in a coordinated manner. Otherwise, we look very shabby at the border, because if you cross, that is not how businesses are done. Finally, Right Honorable Speaker, the issue of corruption in this country. Today, I think is a fifth of 6 ministers being implicated in very illegal, fictitious issues. We make recommendations here, and you see the manner in which they really look at these things is like it's really not serious. I would like to implore, therefore, the chairperson that how come that the local government, the smaller people down there, the moment they find a problem with you, you step aside. You are interdicted and you are not allowed to really engage government in any further business. How come that our recommendations usually leave it at par? I think it's a high time as Parliament, we need to stand and walk the talk and hold whoever is responsible, accountable. And in this case, I really implore that, as you have recommended, that there should be a specific intervention to improve rice production and productivity in this country, so that we can substitute all these imports that we are running for. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Dorcas.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. And I want to thank Honorable Parker Mwine and the team, the committee, for the very elaborate report. I think it was a great job done. Right Honorable Speaker, looking at the recommendations that this of them, but I'd want to implore that when we listen to the minister, she was claiming that the committee did not give her a chance to provide a comprehensive report based on the other issues which the committee had raised. I beg to put forward, Right Honorable Speaker, and pray that this is a very sensitive matter. If it is possible, we would still need the comprehensive report. We don't know the details or the content of the report that she has put, which she is claiming that they were responding to other issues. Therefore, I want to agree with the recommendation that let this issue be investigated by the IGG, and we need it comprehensively done. And also, lastly, Right Honorable Speaker, I pray that we consider recommendation number 1 from the team, which is asking the appointing authority to caution all members of the executive. When we are hearing Honorable Player talking about 6 or 7 other ministers, this is not nice. It is not something we wish to have as top line issues for the country. And I would recommend and pray that we keep that the way the committee had put it, so that tomorrow or next week we are not waking up to similar issues from other ministries. I thank you.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. For the record, Mutumba Abdul representing Kiboga West County. I want to thank the chairperson and the members of this committee for a good report that has been presented. Right Honorable Speaker, I heard the report very well, but I also heard the responses of the Honorable Minister. He did contend that she contributed to the formation of RADIFO as an apex association. But one thing that you'd get interested in too, the minister being a mother, when you give birth to a child and you don't follow up what goes around when you after giving birth to a child, I think it is very unfortunate. I would have expected the minister, after giving birth to a default as her child, she would go ahead to look after what that child really is doing around, because if these people are collecting money, 180,000 shillings on a ton of rice, that was very wrong. Then secondly, Right Honorable Speaker, I would wonder what happens in our ministries, because if we have technocrats that manage our ministries, why is it that every other time we get letters and instructions from ministers, don't we have policies that really technocrats are supposed to use in regulation of activities that go around? Right Honorable Speaker, His Excellency the President of Uganda has been heard on several occasions complaining about government officials that fail investment in this country. I think, and they do that through corruption. Much as we are, focusing our eyes on the minister alone, but we need to go an extra mile and also investigate what is happening in this ministry and as far as the technocrats are concerned. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to add my voice to the chairperson of the Committee of Trade for the detailed report. And I straight away go to the question that you posed, especially about the formation of this RADIFO company and being authorized. One of it is, it's a private company. How did it get authority to collect money when we have a full government agency that collects revenue for the country? And secondly, if it was formed, was it formed to see what it was doing? Because a number of ministries and government officials have been mentioned in the report. The URA is there, Ministry of Agriculture is there, Finance is there. I think is of the report that details are dug from this, so that we come to the real point of where all of this has come from and where is it taking us as a country.
Mental health.
The great speaker. Madam Speaker, Honorable Minister Mutabazi, I want to thank you for your defense But I want to thank very, very much Honorable Mpakamwine and his committee. Madam Speaker, this is the second time and the second report that the Honorable Mpakamwine and his committee have become great men and women in this temple of legislation. Honorable Mpakamwine, if I had authority, you would sit where you have sat for all the 5 years. Madam Speaker, you are guiding the House excellently, very well. And your questions, they are on dot. And that pushes me to have a submission on this good, very good report. Being a member of parliament from Busia municipality, where we get rice from Homo Bay and where we get rice coming from Shire to Uganda, and even some rice that comes via the south border of Kenya and Tanzania to Uganda. Madam Minister, I cited many recommendations from the committee. And first of all, before I go to the recommendations, Madam Minister, my good friend, I want you to own the report, because you have latterly not committed yourself on the report that was asked about you by the Right Honorable Speaker. Truly speaking, our people in the East African region have suffered a lot in the rice business. It is today that I'm discovering that a case, the civil suit number 880/2014, have stayed in court for all that long because it is an anthill of people eating the white ants. Madam Speaker, in the 10th Parliament, this issue came on floor of Parliament, whereby the business people of rice were complaining against few 14 companies. Little did I know that this case is kept in courts of law for people to make money. Minister Mutabazi, you must declare your interest about this company, Kuderado. Who are the directors? Are your grandchildren, sons, holders, or directors of this company? You have kept quiet about it. As a friend, I want you to be clean, because clean leaders make a clean country, and that's why we are called the Pearl of Africa. Madam Minister, at the same time, in the report of Honorable Mpakamwine, there was allegation that 20 billion was asked by you, and it was mentioned in the report. 30 million, yes, plus 10, and we are quoted by you, and you have silently, my sister, kept quiet about it, and moreover laughing at the Pearl of Africa. Honorable members, good enough, the Honorable Minister is one of my good friends. That's why I'm submitting this. Because when a friend is clean, you become happy. My friend, I want you to be clean. Clean yourself on the 20 million and the 10 million. Honorable Mpakamwine, he submitted, and his committee, that there is a lot of conflict of interest in awarding of permits of rice. Honorable Minister, Madam Speaker, I need protection to the Honorable Minister, because the Right Honorable Speaker, I need your protection so that the Minister can listen to me well. In the committee of Honorable Mpakamwine, the committee alleged and majority members signed that in the word of permits, in your ministry, your team or your staff have conflict of interest by getting briberies from business communities. Honorable Minister, you have kept quiet about that matter. Least but not last, Honorable Minister, the letter that you wrote concerning the VAT and made business to stand still in the East African region for 7 days. If I was the appointing authority, I would have punished you. But since you're my friend, I would say and advise you just apologize. Because 7 days of rice not moving within the East African region, although you have said it was a collective responsibility, I'm happy the other ministers in the docket of trade are here. They should at the same time wash their names clean. Because if they are part of this, you have brought barriers and you are fighting the spirit of President Museveni of promoting free movement of goods and people within the region. Madam Minister, truly the fact of the matter, the recommendations that were given by the Committee of Trade, chaired by Honorable Mpakamwine, use this day today and use this platform in this temple of legislation to clean yourself. Because if a recommendation is given to push you to Anti-Corruption Act or court, it might amount to your people who rejected you the other time until you saw the eye of the president rejected you again. So you must wash yourself clean. Madam Speaker, I therefore submit and say, since the Honorable Minister is my very good friend, the committee recommended to send this matter to IGG. We better finish with this matter in our August House. Because this is the temple of legislation. Let the minister defend herself so that we see the party she's representing, which I belong to NRM, whether it is on steady progress or it is there to destroy the small business communities who are doing rice business in this country. Madam Speaker, with that submission, I therefore move that the minister should use this opportunity and chance to wash herself clean. If not so, the minister will be a laughing stock in cabinet and in the Republic of Uganda. Thank you very much, Honorable Mpakamwine and your Committee of Trade. Thank you.
Honorable members, you will continue talking. What we want is an action taken. Action taken on this issue. The traders are suffering, and I have also confirmed from all the documents that Honorable Ntabazi appeared before the committee, and for us we want an action report in 1 month. We want an action report in 1 month. I now put a question that the report of the Committee on Tourism, Trade and Industry on alleged unfair trade in the rice subsector with amendments be adopted. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. The ayes have it. Honorable, thank you so much.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I wish to lay the report of the Committee on Trade concerning the alleged unfair trade practices. I wish to lay the minutes and supporting documents of the report.
Honorable Minister of Finance, are you still in? Honorable Minister of Finance, there was an issue that was raised here regarding the members' pension. And Solomon, can you repeat your question?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, Right Honorable Speaker, is that I brought the attention of Parliament that the Ministry of Finance and the Attorney General intend to take over the bill that was being presented and that was brought to this Parliament by the Honorable Rwakajara. on the pension of members, the amendment of pension of members of parliament. And I asked that the minister be brought here or be directed to come to this parliament to answer and tell us, because this is something that is about members of parliament, that is very urgent, that a bill was raised by a member because government had delayed. Because what brings the private members bill is because of the continuous delay by government to bring some of these bills. Because when you look at the Pensions Act, we are still using the old law before even Parliament started. So that is the question that I raised, government to come and then tell us, is it true that you have interest in taking over that bill? And why is it that government is intending to frustrate the bill that is already in the Committee of Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee?
And if you want to take over the bill, when you bring the bill back to the House?
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. This is an allegation that I'm not aware of right now. I'm not privy to that information. I request for time to come back with the details. As it is now.
It is not an allegation. Honorable Solomon is a member of Legal and Parliamentary, and that issue was raised today in the committee. And Honorable Minister, that pension is for both you and me and all these members of Parliament. So if we cannot protect what belongs to us, then what shall we protect?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, maybe I want to give the Speaker, the Honorable Minister, more information. Honorable Minister, today at 12:30, the Parliamentary Commission appeared before the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee. Prior to that, the Attorney General had appeared to the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, stating that they intend to take over the bill as government and saying that they are discussed with you.
I was Committee on Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, and today we had interactions. Madam Speaker, I didn't want to bring the report which is supposed to be brought by the committee, but since the minister is saying it is an allegation, I want to inform him that when the Attorney General appeared before the committee, personally I asked the question whether government intends to take over the bill from the committee. And his response was, one, it would be good to discourage private members from coming up with bills. Two, this very particular bill has a charge on the consolidated fund. And because of that, he was advising the committee to allow the bill to be brought by the executive. That is the information that I wanted to give to you. And we had so many questions, but since I'm not the chairperson and we are not yet at the report stage, I cannot give all the information, but indeed it happened. Thank you.
Right Honorable Speaker, may I request the House to allow me to consult the Attorney General over this matter and come back to the House with a clear response.
When do you expect to come back? Tuesday?
May I suggest Wednesday?
Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, what we are talking about is very, very precious to members of Parliament. members of, that is all the members of parliament have, their pension. So if you cannot conclude the issues of members of parliament, including yourself, because your name is up to midnight, somebody will wake up and say, I've reshuffled you. But all that said and done, we need our pension to be safeguarded. And if government is taking over, then you should bring it very fast, or else we shall process without a report. We'll process our bill here without a report.
Right Honorable, let me take Tuesday as you had proposed.
Thank you. The House adjourned to tomorrow too.